Some of you may know I'm pursuing a computer science degree.
Got him!
So I wanted to create an AI to win every time in the most badass game that I know. Before I start working on the AI's logic, we need a working tic-tac-toe game. And for this project, I won't be messing with graphic libraries, and we'll just make it in the console instead. So let's get started. For version 1 of our bot's logic, let's just rely on random numbers until we know the game itself is working. So I'll just fill in the code for this really quick. And now all that's left is to test it out. After a while of debugging, I finally found the error. Earlier I decided it would be better if we stored the board in the computer's mind with character values instead of integer ones, so I just needed to change this value from a 0 to the empty character. I know that there will definitely be a few different versions of this bot, so to track its progress, I added this feature where we can put different versions of the AI against each other and simulate as many games as we want to. So let's run, say, 50,000 games of version 1 versus itself, and we'll see how it goes. And while that's running, it's a good time to mention that I prefer to code in C++, which is a coding language that is well known for its efficiency. And that works very well with this project, since we'll probably be simulating over 1 million games. Here's a graph to represent those 50,000 games visually, and we can see that it's pretty even between two random number generators. Now we get to start working on version 2 of our bot's logic. The upgrade that we will do here is by writing a blocking function, where it will look through each open space to find out if the opponent played there, would they win? And if they would win by playing there, we play there instead to block. And now I'll just start simulating games so we can see how bot 2 does.
Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it! Aw, dang it!
Anyways, now we can see the results of the 100,000 games that were simulated. And if I had asked you to predict what they would look like, I bet you would have guessed something similar, because it makes sense that version 2 is better than version 1 because it can block version 1 from winning and therefore give itself more of a chance to win. And it also makes sense that most of version 2's games against itself ended in draws because they were only blocking each other and not trying to win. An AI that knows how to block is pretty cool, but I still think we can do better. So for version 3, I'm going to implement the minimax algorithm. The minimax algorithm is used for the AI in most turn-based strategy games like chess, tic-tac-toe, mancala, and more. For the simple game of tic-tac-toe, it works like this.
Disclaimer. This description should not be used for educational purposes. I don't even really know what I'm talking about. Side effects may include nausea, heartburn, diarrhea, and shortness of breath. If your erection lasts longer than 4 hours, seek medical attention. Batteries not included.
Given a board state and whose turn it is, it generates all the possible moves that that player could make. Then, it checks if any of those end the game via one player winning or a draw. For any that aren't over, generate all the possible moves that the other player could make and check again, and so on and so forth. The computer winning gives a positive score, and its opponent winning gives a negative score, with a draw being a score of 0. The computer wants to maximize its score on the assumption that the opponent is trying to minimize their own. So I ran the 50,000 game skin for version 3 versus version 1 and version 3 versus version 2, and honestly I was hoping for better. Version 3 wins almost all the time against version 1 because it's actually trying to win instead of playing randomly, and our bot doesn't really have that much of an edge against version 2. This tells me that our algorithm isn't perfect yet. And while we're waiting on the 50,000 games for version 3 versus itself, I do actually want you to predict what will happen this time. Could it give an error, or maybe bot 1 wins all 50,000 games, or maybe they're all draws, or could it be something else entirely? Theoretically, we should get all draws, because if both bots are playing on the assumption that the other is going to maximize or minimize their score, then the score that they both can 100% guarantee is a score of 0, right? They split them? I have no idea why this happened. Let's start debugging.
3 weeks later.
To be able to see what's going on, I had the bots play one game against each other and print the board after each turn so that we could figure out where we went wrong. And needless to say, they had some pretty interesting strategies.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
While yes, this move could be good to set up a trap where you can win in two different ways, it doesn't work very well when your opponent can win on the next move. For version 4, we added two different things. First, the bot will check if it has the ability to win on the next move, and if it does, that's the move that gets played. Then, it uses the same blocking function from version 2 to see if it can block the opponent. If neither of those are true, then it goes into the minimax algorithm. Here we see all the results for version 4 of the bot, and this is looking a lot better. We're seeing lots of improvement. However, there are still some flaws because we should not be losing any games with a perfect bot. So let's take a closer look at these flaws so we have a better idea on how to fix them. For this game, the bot got first turn and played the upper left corner. I found that I can set a trap against this bot by playing upper right corner. So it responds with top middle and I play middle right to set the trap. The bot's logic sees that it has to block me, so it plays bottom right, and then I can play middle middle, and that leaves me two options to win. Obviously our bot still needs some upgrades, so version 5. With this version, the change actually isn't in the turn function, but instead it's in the minimax algorithm. By adding a new parameter that's called depth, we gave a higher score for moves that are closer. For example, in this game we have two ways we could get to a winning board. In the previous minimax algorithm, it saw both of these as +1 point and chose randomly between them because it still won in the end. But with the new version, this one is given a better score because it takes less moves to get to the win. Choosing 50,000 was a bold move. Maybe I put too much faith in C++. This took 3 hours to simulate 250,000 games for version 5. But at least we are seeing more improvements. The first thing I want to look at is why when version 5 plays against itself, it doesn't end in a draw every time, and then we'll go from there. I just started playing games against the version 5 bot, some where I played first and some where it played first, and we still aren't playing what I'll call the optimal game. See, with Tic-Tac-Toe, the player who goes first should be able to win, unless the opponent knows the tricks as well, then it will always end in a draw. The first player should start with a corner. That gives the most opportunities to set up multiple ways of winning. The next player should play in the middle, as that is the only way to guarantee a draw or better. Then, at this point, the X player must play the opposite corner of where they started, to still have a chance of winning. Our bot plays the first and third move correct, but it doesn't play the second move correct. So I think if I just hard code a check in here at the beginning to see if it's turn 2 and if the middle's open, and if both of those are true, then we should play there. For this newest version, I just started to run 5,000 simulations of each matchup because running 50,000 was taking way too long for me. And 5,000 is still plenty to give us a good idea of how our bot is doing. And this is looking more like what we want, except for these few games against version 1 and version 2 where we lost somehow. I racked my brain trying to understand how we were losing and trying way too long to implement code that was buggy and taking more effort than the task at hand, and I ended up just taking a shortcut that I wish I had thought of earlier. But let's see what's going on. This is game 467 of what would have been a 5,000 game simulation. This is a game between version 1 who is playing X and version 6 who is playing O. And you have got to be kidding me. Our most advanced version yet is getting caught in a trap by a bot who can only generate random moves. If you didn't notice, that game started as the quote-unquote optimal game, but version 6 made a huge blunder by playing a third corner. To fix this for the new version 7, I check for this optimal game where X has opposite corners and O is in the middle, and if it is at this point, then O should play an edge and not a corner. I also found two other weird traps that our bot was falling for, so I added in some extra protection against those. Surely that's fixed now.
Oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Well, for version, I can't believe I'm saying this, 8, we are updating the minimax algorithm again. this time to give an extra point to moves that are near other moves at the beginning of the game, and this can help stop our opponent from being able to get lots of possible wins. And now we are simulating 5,000 games of version 8 versus its mortal enemy, random number generation.
Fight!
What did he say?
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
Thank you all so much for watching if you made it to this point. This has taken so much time and effort, from coding 8 versions of an AI to editing it all together into this 11-minute and 1-second video. Please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to see more of our content. I still have more that I'd like to do with this in the future, but for now, I think we have surpassed our goal of the unbeatable bot.